I think that when I was a provincial politician, I certainly advocated for the fact that the minimum wage needs to be adjusted on an ongoing basis. You can't just leave it for some of the people that are in the lowest income brackets and leave it indefinitely. And there were periods where we had many numbers of years where the minimum wage was not adjusted. And so I think the notion of adjusting it is something that's entirely appropriate to do. I think in this case there's been a gradual adjustment made, albeit that the increase taking place in 2018, the beginning of 2018, is quite significant. And I just hope that as the province goes about setting this policy, they will be considerate of the fact that, yes, we have to make sure that people who are in that lowest of income groups has a fair wage, but at the same time that we have to make sure we keep business growing and creating jobs and not eliminating jobs. And I think it seems like they have struck a reasonable balance in that regard, but it's one of those things that you have to watch very, very carefully to make sure that, yes, you treat people fairly, which is obviously the most important thing to be doing, but at the same time you don't disrupt opportunities for those people who are seeking jobs. I know from when I was in provincial politics, and I know from being a business person, that business people make very precise calculations. We've just been talking about that in the context of even jobs like this. These are not minimum wage jobs, but business people make very precise calculations. And the thing you always have to be, concerned about, to the point where you focus very carefully on it when you make these decisions, is that the result you end up with is not one where some people who continue to have jobs at minimum wage are getting a bit more, but in the meantime, people who are hiring have reduced the number of hours, have reduced the number of employees, because they have their cost structure. And so that is part of the very tricky balancing act that governments have to perform when they're making these decisions. And I think in this case there was a need to make an adjustment. I hope that they have that balance right in terms of making sure that they treat those workers fairly, but at the same time don't cause a diminished number of jobs to occur because of the cost. And I guess we'll see, but I'm hopeful that they've achieved the right balance in what they've done today.
Do you have any concern? As far as I've heard, both sides are dug in and there's no talks happening. Is this something you have to step in? Does the media have to do something you're not doing?
Well, I've been very reluctant, as you know, to step into any collective bargaining discussions that have taken place in the city's domain. In this case, it was CUPE that chose to go on strike, and they've continued to stay on strike, and they left the negotiating table not too long ago when the parties were sitting together having some talks a week or so ago. And so I regret the fact that the zoo is closed. My principal concern, and I've asked about this almost every day, if not every day, has been to make sure the animals are being properly cared for. And I'm comforted by the fact that the people who are looking after the animals are in many cases people who themselves were experienced zookeepers and zoo personnel before they became managers. And so I think they certainly know what they're doing. They're doing things in a professional manner. We've had a number of live births of animals in the zoo since the work stoppage began. Do I hope that the union would decide to return to the bargaining table? Yes, I do. And I would encourage that to happen for both sides, but it has to happen when those who went out on strike and who have, what I've said before, are good jobs in the city administration, certainly relative to the jobs that many other Torontonians have, with good benefits and good pensions, they have to decide they're going to come back and have a serious talk with the city and with the board of the zoo about their terms of employment going forward.
Presented an offer at a certain level of job protection, and the union said we won't do that. It's not as if they've just walked away and the zoo side is still giving ground. It sounds to me like you're characterizing it differently than what I'm hearing.
I'm going to not get involved in commenting on the particulars of the negotiation, except to say that from what I know of it, I know two things for sure. One is that before the strike, the people who work at the zoo, who do a great job for us, had excellent jobs with excellent job security, excellent pensions, excellent wages and benefits that are, in some respects, far in excess of what many people across Toronto would have that help pay for the zoo. And the second thing is that my understanding was that the zoo management did make an effort to address concerns about job security that went beyond what was in what the last agreement provided for, and the talks discontinued after that. So again, I hope they get back to the table soon. I'm sorry at the fact that the zoo is closed and people can't use it, but that is a function of what happens sometimes in labor relations, and hopefully it can be resolved as soon as possible. I have enough challenges of my own to deal with here in terms of all the different things we have to deal with, the councillor and myself and others, and so I'll leave that to other minds than mine to comment on, and I guess the Duck will be visiting Toronto Harbour sometime soon, and we'll hopefully get down to see it. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.